Southampton mean business as they've already made several player signings for next season. Gavin Bazunu joins from Manchester City on a reported $12 million transfer fee. After 2 successful loan spells in League One, he'll be joining this rebuild from the start. The transfer of Armel Bella-Kotchap has also been announced. The career mode fan favorite joins from VfL Bochum for a reported $9 million. Squad depth at goalkeeper will be no problem with Mateusz Lis joining on a free. While I wasn't able to complete every arrival from the beginning, there are some other shakeups from the current Southampton squad. With Fraser Forster's contract coming to an end, he joins Spurs on a free transfer. The same stipulation for Harry Lewis as he departs to Bradford City on a free. There are a few players more iconic to Southampton than James Ward-Prowse. A product of the club's youth academy, he's going on 10 years in the Premier League, captaining the team and also leading the club in goals and assists last season. Southampton also led the Premier League in minutes played for teenagers. Recent transfer Tino Livramento, a great example of that. And of course, throughout this rebuild, we'll be promoting more youth academy players, starting with our homegrown talent. Alexander Barry starts as a 65 rated center attacking mid. But due to popular requests, you all want to see more strikers, and that is exactly what we'll do moving forward, giving him a +6 in his rating to 71. Not bad starting off your save with a 5-star youth academy scout. He'll be spending the first season in England for 9 months, searching for any type of player. Fairly established as Southampton boss, Ralph Hasenhüttl is actually one of the longest active serving managers in the Premier League. After flirting with relegation the last few seasons, expectations from the board are for us to finish mid-table. And with the transfers the club has already made and are rumored to make, I think this $32 million in our transfer budget can go a long way. We will see a few departures. Jan Bednarek, despite having a few bad games, is still considered a talented player both on the club and country level. I thought this $10 million move to Bayern Munich was fairly realistic. Mohamed Elyounoussi has been on loan a couple of times from Saints, so a Premier League move to Crystal Palace makes sense here. The priority area that I believe Southampton need to work on in this summer's transfer window is to acquire another striker. Emmanuel Dennis would be the perfect player for that, despite being part of a Watford side that got relegated. He still got into the double digits for goals. It's a considerable $15 million fee for a championship player, but Southampton had spent this sort of cash before on the likes of Adam Armstrong. We're turning towards Serie A for our next transfer. Matthias Vanberg has seen his evaluation soar since transferring to Bologna in 2018, playing nearly every minute for the club. He's a technically sound center midfielder that can also put in a shift on defensive duties. We managed to secure his signature for just $10 million, which frankly I believe is under his evaluation. While Southampton is known for giving younger players a chance in the starting 11, you still need that veteran leadership in your squad, and I think Ben Mee could be a great addition for them. His contract coming to an end with Burnley. While we had to pay $8.5 million to complete this transfer, if Saints complete the move on a free, that would be huge. But we're all set to go to begin our season. Here's a look at our first team starting 11. We just need to keep our fingers crossed that Bazunu is going to see a growth in his overall rating. Usually I wouldn't be starting a goalkeeper at his level, but we need to commit to the storylines. We'll see how that's fared for us as we check in halfway through this season. 15th place in the league, but not necessarily clear of relegation yet. We've also seen some slight upticks in our players' overall ratings, but we've also had our share of setbacks. Our new signing Dennis suffered a torn hamstring that left him out for 3 months, and while he was fully recovered by the time January rolled around, he still dropped in his rating. Perhaps that'll leave room for newly promoted youth academy players. Barry's up to a 72 overall. We also managed to find a left winger in Riley Whitehead and a center back, Albert Lawson. All 3 of those players will be promoted right away. My plan for the rest of the season is to keep rotating the side and give players a chance. That seems to have worked out for us as we haven't moved at all in terms of our standings. The 3 newly promoted sides, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, and Bournemouth, actually being sent straight back down to the championship. At a pretty close title race between Liverpool, Manchester City, and Manchester United, but Liverpool will see out the first place spot. We're also going to see the return of a few former Premier League sides in Sheffield United and Watford. Usually I don't check the lower leagues, but I had to point out that Portsmouth, who are widely considered Southampton's rivals, are trying to get on the same level as us. It's a 4th round exit to Manchester United in the FA Cup, but Fulham, despite being relegated, are going to be taking part in European football next season, winning the final against United. Chelsea knock us out in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup, and league winners Liverpool defeat Manchester City in the final. The Champions League final sees a surprise appearance from Wolfsburg, but Manchester City will win the competition. RB Leipzig winning the Europa League final against Leicester, and Marseille securing the Conference League title against Roma. This first season had its twists and turns, but Shea Adams will lead the club in goals scored, also going up +4 in his rating. Romain Perrault had some bright spots in his first season at the club IRL, and he's going to keep that going in this rebuild, leading the way in assists. A quick check-in on our homegrown talent, Barry. He's up +9 in his rating to a 74 overall. And we're going to see one final addition from our youth academy. Riley Morgan is a 69 rated center attacking mid, potential at 91 to 94. We've had a decent campaign, but we'll try to build upon that further in Season 2. My plan for this year is to set up the right foundations in the squad so that this rebuild can be a long-term success. Taking a look at our board expectations. We need to let a few players leave and try to achieve a mid-table finish in the Premier League. Our budget has seen a slight rise to 40 million, and while I want Bazunu to be an integral part of this rebuild, the only way to see his overall rating increase is to send him out on loan. It's one of those silly things in FIFA 22, so it looks like he'll be spending this season at Sporting. As far as players going out, I would say Peral was one of our top players, and I just couldn't turn down a considerable bid from Atletico Madrid as he leaves for 40 million. Adam Armstrong, a decent player, but we've got a lot of good strikers in our squad, so he'll be heading to Roma for 20 million. The third player to leave is Jack Stevens, heading to Wolves for 5 million. It's been confirmed that Takumi Minamino is leaving Liverpool. He's linked to a move to Monaco, but he also spent a season on loan at Southampton, and I think he's good enough to fit into our starting 11. Seeing his arrival for 10 million, which was just at his evaluation. We're trying to improve our defense while also thinking about the long term by bringing in a center back for the future. Mario Vuskovic was one of the bright spots in a Hamburg team that fell just short of promotion to the Bundesliga. We had to pay a sizable amount to finalize this deal, but I know it's going to be worth it as he's one of my favorite center backs this year. Southampton have a lengthy history of transfers from the Scottish Premiership, and with Bazunu's departure on loan, we need a good backup goalkeeper. Liam Kelly has a few years of experience in the English football leagues, featuring occasionally for QPR in the Championship. Really not having to spend a lot to complete this deal, 3.5 million, but it will actually go down as a record departure for Motherwell. Our Youth Academy scout will be spending the year in Wales to search for new players, but our first team will see it start against Manchester United in the league. As a whole, the squad is higher rated, and with Prod's departure, we can feature both Livramento at right back and Walker Peters at left back. Also, a slight change for Gineppo as he shifts to more of an attacking role, getting a +1 in his rating at left wing. We've got a lot to check in on in January. First off, we've seen a slight uptick in our league standings, now at 13th. Not much to expand on in terms of our starting 11. All of our players are healthy, which is a welcome change. And our decision to send Bazunu out on loan has worked out for the better. He's seen a +7 in his rating. Regardless of what happens the rest of the season, I think he's ready to become our number 1. The only changes I'll make in January is to sign up 2 more 5-star scouts. I think we'll probably disperse them next season, and I'll keep you updated whatever players we promote. But as I was simulating through, I was surprised to see that Atalanta wanted us to take on their manager job. A respectable team in Serie A, but I think we're going to stick to the Southampton plan moving forward, as we achieved a top half of the Premier League table finish, 10th place with 51 points. We've seen a change in league winners as Manchester City end up in first. Relegation spots again going to some of those newly promoted championship sides. Sheffield United, Brentford, and Watford going to England's second division, with Fulham and Stoke City seeing promotion to the Premier League. Of course, Fulham had that spectacular first season of the rebuild. They actually knocked us out in the 5th round of the FA Cup, making it all the way to the final in back-to-back seasons, but losing out to Spurs. As far as Europa League went, they did an alright job, finishing 3rd in their group. An early exit for us from the Carabao Cup as we lose to Luton Town on penalty kicks. Manchester United win the competition against Spurs, who again featured in the final. Liverpool will put a stop to Manchester City's luck in Champions League. Barcelona winning the Europa League title against Real Sociedad. PAOK with what will probably be considered a surprise win in the Conference League final against Arsenal. Che Adams will lead Saints in goals scored in back-to-back seasons. James Ward-Prowse, by and far the leader for assists. A little bit more growth in his rating during that second half of the season for Bazunu at Sporting. And our scouting network in Wales has brought back 2 players. Ethan Ward, a 64 rated right winger with 77 to 94 potential. That left foot of his immediately made me draw similarities to Gareth Bale, who also started his youth career at Southampton. Curtis Gillingham will probably be our 3rd choice goalkeeper. He might not be the highest rated, but I think he'll do the job as a reserve player. We will see one final departure at season's end. Ben Mee is getting up in age and dropping significantly in his overall. He's done a great job for us, and I hope that another team will pick up his contract for season 3. But all in all, I'm happy with how we've done, checking off a lot of these board expectations. The Southampton team is getting better and better. Perhaps this could be the year we see the club's return to European football. It's also going to be the debut season for Barry as one of our starting strikers. For board expectations, we have to further strengthen the midfield or forward position. As for domestic success, there is the objective to qualify for Europa League next season. Also, a significant rise in our transfer budget, 75 million plus to work with, and we're going to see some further departures. Gineppo, a good player, maybe even a player too good for us at our current level, received an offer from RB Leipzig. It just seemed like the right move as we received 50 million for the transfer. Stuart Armstrong is arguably one of Southampton's current best players, but he continues to want an important squad role even as he starts to get older and decline in his rating, so I felt like the best thing was to let him leave to another Premier League team in Crystal Palace. And we've already committed to Bazunu being our number one, so Sheffield United will see the arrival of Alex McCarthy for 2.5 million. I don't think we need to sign another striker, so instead we'll look for some more wide players. Patrick Wimmer, part of a relegated Arminia Bielefeld team, shares the same nationality as Hassan Hutel, and also a pretty good potential player for the future. It's 40 million that we'll need to pay. Again, well above the player's evaluation, but it's a deal I think will pay off for us. Brentford just saw relegation from the Premier League in this simulation. They've got loads of high potential players, so we could basically pick between one of their midfielders. Josh Da Silva probably playing a backup role to James Ward-Prowse, as we'll see his arrival for 12.5 million, slightly above his current evaluation. Some good moves in the summer, and we're ready to begin our Premier League season against Stoke City. You'll notice that we've made way for more youth academy players like Whitehead at the left wing position, and I think by season's end we'll have no problem with every player in our starting 11 being 80 rated or higher. A couple of position changes as well, with Minamino going to right wing, Svanberg going to center defensive mid, and Tella going to right wing. We'll check on results in January 2024, and again, we're in top half of the Premier League standings, very much in the running for Europa League qualification, just a single point outside of the top 6. And as anticipated with a young Southampton team, we've seen players skyrocket in their rating. That seemed to help our success in the FA Cup, because with just a few fixtures remaining this season, we'll be playing the final against Chelsea. It's an important match because we haven't yet guaranteed Europa League for next season based off our Premier League performances. Southampton have some history in the FA Cup, winning the competition in 1976. Further reaching the final in 2003 and even making it to the quarters last year. Our opposition to this point hasn't been the strongest, but Chelsea are going to be a formidable foe as they will get the first highlight of the match. It's a big save from Bazunu to deny the Kai Havertz effort, and Barry on the counter finds Shea Adams, and on his left foot, he'll find the finish to give us the 1-0 lead 16 minutes in, setting the momentum for this match, but maybe some mistakes from a young Southampton team. It just seemed like the ball was locked on to Kai Havertz, as he will get the equalizer at basically the worst time possible just before the halftime break. But that's not going to stop us. It's Whitehead down the left side. He will look to send the cross, had a deflection, and then he goes solo the rest of the way as we once again reclaim our lead. 70 minutes into the match, and we're going to get some further chances. Now just a few more moments left to play. Tella with some good work down the right side. He will find Barry inside the box, and that was going to secure our win. 3-1, despite what ended up being a late consolation goal for Chelsea. Again, we're losing possession in our final third, and that's something we'll need to work on moving forward, especially now that we have secured European football for next season. I know that's an important moment for James Ward-Prowse as he continues to be the backbone of this Southampton team. Hopefully he'll be the first of many trophies in this rebuild. A strong end to our Premier League season as well, holding on to the 5th place spot. Liverpool winning the league. Relegation spots going to Everton, Norwich, as well as Stoke City. And the championship will see the return of Brentford along with Blackburn Rovers. We, of course, did win the FA Cup final against Chelsea 3-2, a 4th round exit in the Carabao Cup to Spurs, with Liverpool getting the double in their finals win against Manchester United. Monaco, Champions League winners against Bayern. Inter to win the Europa League final against Valencia, and Real Sociedad to defeat Wolfsburg in Conference League. You could say it was a successful season for Barry, leading the club in goals and reaching the 20 mark. As for assists, not as much contribution from Ward-Prowse, but still a solid outing. But I think a lot of our success came from our defense. Bazunu with the most Premier League clean sheets. We'll have 3 promoted players from our youth academy. Ward is now eligible to be called up to the first team. We also have Ben McCarthy, a center defensive mid from Ireland with 86 to 92 potential. Crothers is a Scottish center defensive midfielder with potential of 89 to 94. Once again, we've got a player contract coming to an end. It's Theo Walcott. Recently saw his return back to Southampton, and he'll end his time here at a 56 overall, holding steady with our manager rating and a lot of optimism heading into season 4. Well, it's our first year of European football in this rebuild, but one of my ambitions this season is to try to establish ourselves in the Premier League. That is reflected in our board objectives as we look to finish top 4 in the league, also trying to reach the final of UEFA Europa League. Here's a look at our group. We've got Ajax, BSC Young Boys, and CFR Cluj. And our transfer budget keeps on rising, about 150 million this season, and that's not including any player departures. Kyle Walker-Peters has become one of England's best right backs and left backs, and while I would have liked to keep him for the rebuild, I think the realistic thing is to let him go to one of the top teams. Chelsea yet to win a league title so far in this rebuild, but taking place in Champions League will acquire him for 90 million. I wanted to stay within the Premier League to sign a replacement left back, and Ryan Sessegnon has lost his starting spot to recent transfers Reguilon. I like the fact he can offer us something in the attacking department with his contract expiring at season's end. This was a bargain of a transfer. Turning towards another defender with Chris Richards. At the time you're recording, he was linked to Southampton. Not sure if they'll still go through with that transfer with the arrival of Armel Bella-Kotchap. And for 15 million, we've got another talent with good potential, and at worst, he could serve a rotational role. 2 departures with Nathan Redmond heading to West Ham United for 17.5 million. And Ibrahima Diallo going back to Ligue 1, joining Strasbourg for 15 million. Our season will see its start in the FA Community Shield against Premier League winners Liverpool, a club that we have a lot of history with in terms of transfers. But here is our starting 11. No ambitions for any further players to go to Liverpool, and we actually end up winning the match on penalty kicks. Our Youth Academy talent Whitehead scoring the winning pen. We'll try to carry that momentum into the January transfer window, and we find ourselves first in the league, equal on points with Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool rounding out the top 4. Also advancing in our Europa League group, going undefeated and advancing along with Ajax to the knockout stage. With an opportunity for us to potentially win the league title, I think it's important to strengthen our starting 11. Romeu has had a great run in this rebuild, but he's finally decreasing in his ratings, so a replacement center mid is needed. The former Anderlecht and Arsenal man, Albert Sombi Lokonga, has transferred Ligue 1, and this is a league that we actually haven't seen too many moves from in this rebuild, but Southampton have a lengthy transfer history for this league. Anyway, we will see his arrival for 50 million. More than I anticipated, but he'll be a big improvement to our midfield. With that transfer completed, we're ready to move into the knockout stages of Europa League. Starting in the round of 16 against Saturday, I didn't expect to face Sambi Lokonga's former team, but we'll get a win in the away fixture 3-1. Drawing at home, and that means we're through 4-2 on aggregate into the quarterfinals against Lazio. A losing effort in the away leg, but at home, we put in a good scoreline. 3 first half goals will see us through 3-2 on aggregate. And against Roma in the semifinals. Our record at home continues to be impeccable, 1-0, and away we hold Roma scoreless, meaning that we've reached the Europa League final against Sevilla, who have an impressive record in this competition. It's definitely not going to be an easy match to close out our season. I'm hoping we'll have learned some lessons from last year's FA Cup final against Chelsea. We are more experienced as a team, and we brought in some players that I think could fare well in this Europa League competition. We'll start things off with Barry running it down the right, stopping and showcasing some skill to force the penalty kick. It's going to be James Ward-Prowse to step up and take it. Our set piece master. You've got to feel confident going in, but I think I need to work on getting my timing down for these penalty kicks as we red time the finish. Not sure the last time I've done that, but continuing here in the first half with Dennis. He, of course, has been quite the player for us ever since we signed him in Season 1, but the green tie finish is saved, and we will bring on Minamino in the 64th minute. Known for scoring crucial goals, and hopefully he can do that for us in this match as we will go down in the 66th minute. Conceding that goal, and it really was one that was unavoidable. Just couldn't mark the run from Joe Willock. It seemed as if luck was not on our side today, but with just minutes to spare, Minamino gets played through. You can see we've chosen to utilize him as more of a striker rather than a winger, and I think that decision paid off for us as he gets the equalizer, forcing extra time, and in the 96th minute, it's Wimmer who does a nice fake shot to create space, and on his preferred right foot will give us the go-ahead second goal. That's 2 cinematic celebrations, and that is also going to be a trophy celebration. We're on a roll now with Southampton. That is 2 seasons in a row where James Ward-Prowse is lifting some silverware. As an added bonus to winning Europa League, we also finished top 4 in the Premier League, so Champions League is guaranteed. Brentford, West Ham, and Blackburn Rovers will be going down to the Championship. And it's Everton and Bournemouth that will see their return to the Premier League. Also wanted to point out that Portsmouth going back to League One. We started the season with an impressive win in the FA Community Shield, getting knocked out in the third round of the FA Cup to Blackburn, with Manchester City winning the competition against Liverpool. We'll go all the way to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, but Newcastle United saw a victory there, losing out to Chelsea in the final 3-1. It's Inter to win the Champions League against Barcelona. We, of course, win the Europa League final against Sevilla, and Napoli finally will get the Conference League title. Barry continues his reign as one of the top goal scorers at the club, 25 from 57, and Ward-Prowse, absolutely huge numbers here. It seems like he is back to his best, as he also led the Premier League in assists this season. We're on an upwards trajectory with Southampton. We'll see if we can continue that in Season 5. Judging by some of the injuries, there are some areas in this squad that we need to address. But first, we'll cover board expectations. From here on out, things are going to go as expected. We need to become one of the best teams in England, if not make a run to become the best team in Europe as well. Our Champions League group, consisting of Juventus, Sporting, and Rosenborg. Transfer budget still going up. We're now past 225 million. I've talked about adding veteran leadership before. Well, we've got a former player with Virgil van Dijk. His transfer to Liverpool in the 17-18 season set records at the time, and I think he's ready for his return to the Premier League. It's 40 million that we'll need to pay to finalize the deal. Not bad considering we're adding an 89 rated player. I want to make sure we have options at striker, and I feel like it's right for us to bring in another younger talent. Mohamed Ali Cho has recently confirmed his move to Real Sociedad from Angers, but he's at Stuttgart in this save, and I quite like him as a backup striker. 32.5 million to finalize this deal. Again, slightly above the player's valuation. Mikael Krusans has moved around a bit in terms of his clubs. I think he established himself as a Bundesliga player, even playing for the likes of Bayern, but now he's over at Venezia, who just saw a relegation from Serie A. And I want to add another rotational midfielder. It's going to be 35 million for us to make this move final, but that will hardly break into our transfer budget. The main reason for that is Josh Da Silva was unhappy with his playtime, so he requested a transfer. He's joining Hoffenheim for 13 million, and Leonko also going to the Bundesliga for 10.5 million to Mönchengladbach. We'll again see our season start in a Super Cup. This time it's the UEFA Super Cup against Champions League winners Inter. And speaking of Champions League, I think this squad has the capabilities to go far in that competition. We start the journey on a positive note, winning the UEFA Super Cup final 3-2, courtesy of a late goal from Minamino. It's time to check results in January 2026, and we're third place in the Premier League, just a single point behind Spurs. And it's important to note that we're also through to the knockout stages of Champions League. Juventus will join us in the round of 16. I was feeling confident heading into the latter stages of this season, but a big injury to one of our star players gave us a bit of a setback. Hopefully Vuskovic can do a job as our right center back, as we'll start the round of 16 against Atletico Madrid, losing our first match 2-1 because of some late goals. That ended up costing us because we also lose the second fixture 2-0. So Champions League, this wasn't our year, but we have an opportunity to do something in the Premier League. An April 11th fixture against Manchester City could decide the title, as we can overtake them with a win. Of course, anything can happen between now and the end of the Premier League season, but getting a win here against Manchester City would put us in a great position moving forward. However, Gravenberg had something else in mind, as he scores a fantastic long-range effort to open up the scoring in this one and put us down 1-0 early on in the match. We'll need to find a way to respond, because City were definitely moving forward and they wanted more. Sterling could have doubled the lead, but he misses that one, and we try to go on a counterattack here. Wimmer to play through Adams, fully recovered from the injury he had at the start of the season, and clearly he still has the finishing ability, as he gets the equalizer before the halftime break. We're into the second half. A good stop initially from Salisu, but the ball falls to Phil Foden, and he is once again going to give City the lead in this one. A lot of time remaining in this match, and I felt confident because there's something special about one of our new signings. It's Sambi Lokonga going from basically midfield all the way to the byline. He'll draw the penalty, and James Ward-Prowse with a chance to redeem himself from last year's Europa League final miss. and I wasn't taking too many chances with this one. Decided to go with the yellow time finish now that I'm a little bit more comfortable with the timing. But a draw was never the aim. We want to go for all 3 points, and Sessegnon getting involved in the attacking play eventually works the ball around to Barry, and it's another one of these cinematic celebrations. My favorite one of the rebuild so far from our homegrown talents. And would you look at that, the win ended up being important as we finished 2 points clear of Manchester City for our first Premier League title in this rebuild and also in the club's history. I'm happy we were able to keep Ward-Prowse as a one-club player, but there's more for us to play for as now we try to check off Champions League next season. As far as the relegation zone, it's Fulham, Bournemouth, and Watford that will be going to the Championship. Unsurprisingly, West Ham and Brentford will be promoted back to the Premier League. But I've got to say, outside of Champions League, we had a fantastic season, starting the year with a win in the UEFA Super Cup, carrying forward that to a victory in the FA Cup final against Manchester United. Barry scoring a late goal as well to seal us the winner. And we were 3 for 3 as far as domestic competitions go. A victory in the Carabao Cup final. Our luck on penalty kicks has been something else in this rebuild. We'll still review Champions League though, a round of 16 exit for us, but Inter go back to back as they may be the team to beat next season. Stade Rennais still doing quite well without Sambi Lokonga as they'll get the victory in Europa League. Wolves with the win in the Conference League final against Sevilla. Goals galore for us this season. A lot of players getting into the double digits, but Ward-Prowse still leading the way for the club in assists. Despite all that, our manager rating has seen a significant drop, so hopefully we can keep our job for season 6. It's unlikely that we'll be able to replicate as good of a season in England, so full focus goes toward Champions League. Expectations from the board are going to be similar to last year, trying to achieve everything in England, also winning Champions League. One thing to point out though is that we need to sign a crucial first team forward. Our Champions League group this year will consist of Villarreal, Marseille, and Royal Antwerp. I don't see us using anywhere close to this 250 million in our transfer budget, but it's good to note that it's there. And we're going to see the return of a former player, actually someone that was on loan last season for Southampton. With Armando Broja, he's transferred away from the Premier League to Valencia. A pretty versatile player and will certainly be an improvement for us at the striker position as we'll mark his arrival for 75 million, which at this stage of career mode is pretty normal. We will see one player departure, Shea Adams, amazing player for us in this rebuild, but I think he's reached his peak and it's best that we let him go elsewhere as he signs for Torino. We're returning back to the FA Community Shield to begin our season. It's going to be Manchester City that we play. One other change to our starting 11 is that I've decided to give Lawson a chance. He's a Youth Academy promotion from season 1, and I think he can exceed the rating of some of our other center backs. As far as the FA Community Shield goes, we again win this competition due to penalty kicks, and we'll check on results in January 2027. 4th place in the Premier League, so it's going to be difficult for us to win another league title, but we are through to the next stages of Champions League as us and Villarreal will be advancing to the knockouts. No injury problems, so we can head straight into the round of 16. A tough opponent with Barcelona, but we do get the winning result away from home, and we're level at St. Mary's, meaning that we advance 3-1 on aggregate, and we'll face Atletico Madrid. In a rematch of last year's round of 16, we get the winning result at home this time, also winning our away fixture, and we'll match up against Real Madrid in the semi-finals. Another clean sheet means that we've got the advantage heading into the away leg. We'll win that one as well. I think we've matched up against Manchester City more times than any other opponent, and they will be our final match of this rebuild. But before we play that Champions League final, I'll cover other competitions and have a look back at some former players. We start our season with a victory in the FA Community Shield against Manchester City, ultimately finishing 5th in the Premier League. Making it to the latter stages of the FA Cup, but seeing an exit in the 5th round to Chelsea, with Leeds United winning the entire competition. And Chelsea also knock us out of the Carabao Cup in the 3rd round. Manchester City were victorious against Brighton in the final. Liverpool will win the Europa League title against Hoffenheim, and Portimonense with a win in the Conference League final. One of our top prospects in this rebuild was Kyle Walker-Peters. He's still at Chelsea at 30 years old and 87 overall. Probably left the club to La Liga in season 2, but he's returned to the Premier League. 85 rated at 29 years old. And Gineppo has transferred around a bit as well. He's now at PSG, 83 rated at 29. Although we didn't sign them in this rebuild, I still wanted to see what sort of potential Bella-Kotchap achieved. He's currently at Wolfsburg at an 81 rating, only 25 years old, and Mateusz Lis is 76 rated, still at his original club. But without further ado, it's time for the Champions League final. Let's get into the cinematics. We know the strengths of this Southampton squad pretty well 6 seasons into the rebuild, and Barry has proved to be a great target man striker, opening up the scoring in this Champions League final with that header. And that is exactly how we wanted to start the match. Anytime you can take the lead, things tend to go in your favor, as we'll score another header from our other striker, Broja, to make it 2 on the day. And I've got to say, compared to when we played Manchester City in last season's Premier League fixture, they were pretty uneventful on the offensive front. So in what will be a storybook ending for James Ward-Prowse, lifting the Champions League trophy for Southampton. This also meant a lot to me because I was unable to achieve this feat the last time I did a Saints career mode. And what will be the 3rd or 4th season in a row, Barry leads the way for goals, Wimmer with the most assists, and our manager rating seeing an overall rise this season. Hope y'all did enjoy this Southampton rebuild. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, drop that in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, but until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to y'all again soon.